Have you ever paused, really paused, and asked yourself, why do I have to work so hard, just to be loved? Why do I always feel like I need to prove something, chase something, hold someone so tightly, just to not be left behind? What if I told you, the very thing you're chasing is already inside you? But first, you have to remember what the world made you forget. We live in a world obsessed with speed, where value is measured in deadlines, deliverables, and doing more. In this world, this relentless machine, modern women have become experts in survival. She leads, she organizes, she keeps everything running. She's strong because she had to be. But have you ever stopped to ask what that strength cost her? Beneath the checklists and polished smiles, there's a quiet ache, a feeling, subtle but persistent, that something sacred has been lost. In the process of keeping it all together, she traded softness for armor, stillness for performance, presence for productivity. Do you remember the last time you let yourself simply be, without trying to impress, without fixing, without performing? Most women don't, not because they're weak, but because they were taught that softness is, that tenderness is dangerous, that vulnerability is a risk, that asking to be held is asking too much. So we learned how to stay ahead, to strive, to overfunction, to chase approval, attention, love. But the more we chase, the more we lose ourselves, the more we grip, the more we disconnect from the very part of us that longs to be seen. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist who saw beneath the surface of things, called this loss of connection the loss of anima, the sacred, archetypal feminine that lives in every woman. It's not weakness, it's rhythm, it's water, it's whisper, it's the voice that says, you are enough, even in stillness. But when a woman forgets this part of herself, she becomes a stranger in her own skin, busy but not fulfilled, productive but never present, loved maybe, but not truly seen. So let me ask you gently, when did you start believing you had to earn love? When did you begin hiding the parts of you that felt too much, your emotions, your softness, your longing to rest in someone's arms instead of carrying the weight of the world? You see, feminine energy doesn't chase, it attracts, not by striving, not through strategy, but through presence, through the quiet power of a woman who has come home to herself. Picture this, you're at a gathering, soft music, laughter, light. One woman dazzles the room with her stories, another has everyone in stitches with her wit. But your eyes, they drift toward the woman in the corner. She's not loud, she's not trying, she's just there, still, rooted, fully at ease in her own skin. And yet, you can't look away, because presence is louder than performance. You were never meant to chase, you were meant to remember that your worth is not something you earn by being desirable or useful. It's something you are when you stop abandoning yourself to be chosen. This isn't about becoming someone new, it's about unbecoming everything you were taught to be, just to feel worthy. And maybe, just maybe, the most powerful journey a woman can take isn't toward perfection, but toward presence, not toward becoming better, but toward coming home to her original self. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we'll begin to peel back the layers and unlock the quiet force inside you, the magnetic pull that was never meant to be taught, only remembered. But before you go, if something stirred in you while listening to this, even the smallest ache, the softest yes, then this is not a coincidence. This is your invitation to stop chasing, to stop explaining, to stop performing, and to start living from the stillness that has always known your name. Sparkles, if you're ready to take the first step, hit subscribe, turn on the bell so this journey can find you again. And leave a comment below that simply says, "I'm ready to return." Because who knows, the next video might be the peace your soul has been quietly waiting for, and maybe, just maybe, your return will be the light another woman needed to come home to herself, too. Have you ever walked into a room and been drawn to someone, not because they were the loudest, not the most beautiful, not even the most impressive, but because they felt like stillness in the middle of a storm, like peace with a pulse? That is feminine energy. And it has nothing to do with what she wore or what she said. It's who she was, without trying. You see, we've been sold a lie. That femininity is a look, a dress, a gentle voice, a softness that's been curated, filtered, packaged to please. But what if I told you, the true feminine isn't something you wear, it's something you remember? Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, never defined feminine energy by appearance. He saw it as a deep, living frequency within the human soul. He called it the anima, the sacred feminine blueprint that exists not only in women, but in all of us. And when a woman reconnects with her anima, she doesn't have to chase, she doesn't have to convince. Her presence becomes a gravitational field. Think about this. How often do we try to become the woman someone else might choose? More interesting, more polished, more productive, more worthy, as if love was something to win, as if safety was something to perform for. But what if your value isn't something you earn? What if it's something you never actually lost, just forgot? Imagine her. She's not dazzling anyone with stories. She's not laughing the loudest. She's not showing off. She's sitting in the corner of the room, quiet, still, present. Her energy doesn't seek the room finds its way to her. There's a kind of gravity in a woman who no longer needs attention to validate her presence. She's full, grounded, untouched by comparison. You can feel her without even knowing why. That's the forgotten power of feminine energy. It doesn't shout, it listens. It doesn't perform, it feels. It doesn't prove, it simply is. And that being, that presence, is louder than any performance you've ever rehearsed. Because when a woman stops trying to be someone, she finally becomes herself, and the world begins to respond to her differently. Jung believed this. Feminine essence wasn't ornamental, it was a bridge, a channel, connecting our conscious world to the deep, untamed landscape of the unconscious. The anima holds intuition, emotion, creativity, dreams that speak in symbols, tears that come for no reason, truths that arrive before they're explained. But here's the tragedy. In chasing the world's approval, many women forget how to listen. They silence their softness. They quiet their intuition. They abandon their wildness to become acceptable, and slowly, they forget how to feel. So let me ask you this. Who were you before they told you you had to be sharper, quicker, stronger? Who were you before stillness was called laziness, before sensitivity was called weakness, before softness became something you had to apologize for? Close your eyes. Can you remember her? Not the woman you've become, the girl you used to be, the one who danced barefoot, spoke to the stars, felt everything, believed in beauty before it had to make sense. She's still there, waiting, not for you to fix her, not for you to impress her, just for you to see her again. The truth is, you don't need to do anything to be loved. You don't need to sparkle, or shrink, or chase, because when you come back home to yourself, when you sit in the truth of your own being, what is meant for you cannot pass you by. Presence has a pull that effort never can. You are not here to perform, you are here to remember. And when you do, the world will feel it. So if something in this stirred you, if a line made you exhale, if a part of you softened, as if it had been waiting to hear this, it wasn't by chance. This is your invitation to stop performing, to stop earning, to stop waiting, and instead, to return, to remember, to become. Sparkles. If you're ready, click subscribe, turn on the bell, and leave a comment below that says, I am ready to return. Because maybe, the next video, is the peace your soul's been waiting for, and maybe, just maybe, your remembering, will awaken another woman, too. She did everything right, she followed the rules, she worked harder than anyone, she stayed strong. Even when life gave her every reason to fall apart, and yet, somewhere along the way, she forgot how to feel. If that sounds like you, stay with me, because sometimes, the armor we wear to protect ourselves becomes the very thing that traps us. From the time we're little girls, we're taught a silent lesson: don't be too emotional, don't need too much, don't rely on anyone, be capable, be rational, be everything for everyone. So we try, oh, how we try, we push ourselves to succeed, to lead, to stay composed, to always have the answer. We become exactly what the world asked of us: independent, resilient, unstoppable. But here's the part no one talks about. While we were building that strength, we quietly buried something sacred. The more we tried to be enough, the less we recognized ourselves. Yes, we hit the goals, we checked the boxes, we looked impressive, but inside, there was a silence, an emotional dryness, like we were living life on autopilot, performing, instead of truly living. And the world clapped, it praised our productivity, our control, our ability to keep going no matter what. But when the lights dimmed, when the house got quiet, we knew something was missing, something essential, something soft, something true. You see, when we live only in our masculine energy, logic, control, doing, and suppress the feminine, emotion, intuition, being, we begin to fragment. We get so good at doing that we forget how to simply be. We forget how to listen inwardly, how to sit still with ourselves, how to let tears fall without needing to explain them. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted, to survive, to belong. And he warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. What we bury will drive us, the parts we silence will shape our choices, the pain we don't face will become the pattern we repeat. So let me ask you, when did being strong become a performance? When did you begin hiding the real you beneath all the responsibilities, the perfection, the pressure? Can you remember the last time you felt safe to be soft, to cry without guilt, to feel without justification? I once worked with a woman who had everything. She ran a thriving business, raised 2 kids, took care of everyone, but when we sat down, she looked me in the eye and said, I know how to take care of everyone, but I've forgotten how to feel joy just for me. That's when it hit her. Her strength had become her cage, not because she wasn't powerful, but because she had abandoned the parts of her that made her feel alive. This is not a call to give up your power. This is not about shrinking. This is a remembrance that your softness is not your weakness. Your emotions are not too much. Your feminine soul is not a distraction. She is your compass. She is your anchor. She is the pulse that brings you back to life. You don't have to wear the mask anymore. You don't have to chase approval in a language your soul never agreed to speak, because the strongest woman is not the one who hides her heart. She's the one who dares to feel it. She's not broken. She's not behind. She's just been busy, surviving. But now, she's ready to come home, and that changes everything. sparkles if something in you softened while listening to this, if your eyes filled with tears you didn't expect. If a quiet voice inside whispered, "This is me," leave a comment below that says, "I'm ready to feel again." Subscribe, turn on the bell, because the next video might be the one that helps you remember what the world made you forget. You were never too much, you were never too soft, you were never wrong for wanting to feel. You are not here to perform, you are here to feel, you are here to return. You say you want love, but let me ask you something honest. Are you vibrating love, or are you vibrating fear, urgency, that quiet ache of not being chosen? Again, here's a truth most of us were never taught growing up: we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. You can dream of soul-deep connection, of a love that feels safe, honest, and magnetic, but if your energy says, "I'm not enough, I need to be picked, I need to prove," then what you attract will reflect exactly that. You'll meet people who can't meet you, who make you feel like you're too much, or never quite enough. You'll end up in spaces where you have to explain your worth, where your value feels conditional, where love feels like a test you never stop taking. And here's the most painful part: you might start to believe it's just not meant for you, that real love is for other people. But the problem isn't out there. It's not dating apps, it's not your past, it's not even them, it's your frequency. It's the vibration you're sending out, even when you say all the right things, because energy doesn't lie. You can smile, say the right words, play it cool, but if your nervous system is vibrating fear, if your soul is humming with the pain of not feeling chosen, the universe hears that, and it answers. Have you ever caught yourself overanalyzing someone's message, reading their words again and again, worrying you said too much, or maybe not enough? You try to sound chill, but inside you're spiraling. What if they ghost me? What if I scared them away? What if I'm too much? Again. That's not love, that's survival, that's the energy of chasing. It's not always loud, sometimes it's a whisper: if I don't try harder, I'll be abandoned. And many of us learned this early, maybe as children, when love came with conditions: be good, be quiet, be helpful. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be seen. So now, as grown women, we keep performing, we overgive, we over-explain, we shape-shift to be what they might want, and still we're left tired, empty, unseen. It becomes a loop. The more we chase, the more we lose. The more we try to hold on, the further love runs. Because chasing never builds connection, it builds imbalance. You see, love doesn't come when you beg for it, it comes when you embody it. Carl Jung called this dynamic the projected unconscious. The hidden parts of us, our unhealed fears, get projected outward, and life responds to those wounds, over and over, until we finally see them. So how do you break the cycle? How do you stop attracting what hurts you? You stop chasing, not by giving up on love, but by giving up on the version of you that thinks she has to earn it. You come home to yourself. You stop asking, "Will someone pick me?" And you begin saying, "I choose me." You stop living in scarcity, and begin radiating the knowing, "I am already enough." Think back for a second. Remember a time you finally let something go? A person, a job, a version of yourself that was performing just to be accepted, and then, almost out of nowhere, something better arrived. That wasn't a coincidence. That was your energy aligning. That was your frequency shifting from lack to truth. That's what happens when you stop chasing and start becoming. You were never meant to beg for love. You were meant to become it. And when you live from that place, the right people don't just find you, they stay, not because you proved your worth, but because your presence felt like home. Let me tell you a quick story. A woman I once worked with said this to me, "I know how to get attention, but I've forgotten how to feel seen." And that broke me a little, because too many of us live like that, performing love, instead of receiving it. Here's the truth, love, you don't have to become prettier, or smarter, or cooler, you only have to become more honest. More grounded, more real, because real love isn't something you chase, it's something you remember. It starts with you. If any part of this touched something in you, if your heart whispered, "Yes, that's me," leave a comment and say, "I choose myself." Subscribe if you're ready to stop performing and start returning, because the next video might just be the reminder your soul has been waiting for. You don't have to be chosen, you already are, by you, and that changes everything. She didn't chase, she didn't convince, she didn't perform, and yet, everything she once thought she had to beg for, found its way to her, naturally. That's not magic, that's alignment. That's the quiet power of living in your truth. We've been conditioned to believe that attraction is a strategy, where this, say that, wait 3 hours to reply, play the game, choreograph your charm, make it look effortless, while trying harder than ever. But what if I told you, the most magnetic people in the world don't follow formulas, they follow frequency. They don't ask to be chosen, they become undeniable, because true feminine energy doesn't chase, it doesn't persuade, it doesn't audition for worthiness, it simply is. It doesn't scream to be heard, it whispers, and the world leans in. It's not loud, but it's deeply felt. This energy isn't about doing more. It's about being more fully you, unapologetically, unshaken, unmasked, because when you're rooted in your being, not performing, not proving, life begins to rearrange itself around your presence. You stop asking, "Will they stay?" and start asking, "Does this honor the woman I've become?" Carl Jung called this transformation individuation. It's not a buzzword, it's the sacred unraveling of everything you were taught to be, to remember who you've always been underneath. The journey doesn't always feel poetic, it often begins in pieces, in discomfort, in the silence that follows when the mask no longer fits, but you're not sure who you are without it. You ask, if I'm not the version they liked, needed, praised, then who am I? And that moment, the one that feels like falling apart, is the exact moment your soul begins to rise. There was a time I thought I had to fix myself to be loved, so I hustled, I healed, I read every book, took every course, spoke all the right affirmations, but nothing truly changed, until I stopped asking, "What's wrong with me?" and started asking, "What parts of me have I abandoned just to be accepted?" And when I stopped hiding her, the messy one, the raw one, the too much one, I started coming home. You see, the secret no one can sell you is this: you don't need to chase love, or success, or someone else's version of enough. You need to become your own source, your own safety, your own sanctuary, because when you stop searching to be filled, you realize you were never empty, only disconnected. And once you reconnect, you stop asking the world to give you what you already are. So let me ask you, what if you let go, not of love itself, but of the story that says you have to earn it? What if, instead of chasing, you started choosing to believe you're already whole, choosing to rest in your body, choosing to trust that what's aligned won't require you to betray yourself to keep it? Picture this: a woman walks into the room. She's not the loudest, not the most glamorous, she's just present, rooted, real, and yet, the room changes, the atmosphere softens, because presence, real, embodied presence, has a gravitational pull effort never will. She didn't chase, she remembered, and in doing so, she became magnetic. So here's what I want you to carry with you: you don't need to be louder, You don't need to try harder. You don't need to be more. You only need to come home. Home to your softness. Home to your inner knowing. Home to the version of you that isn't striving. She's simply becoming. Sparkles. And if this stirred something deep in you, write in the comments, I'm ready to come home. Because when a woman remembers who she is, the world remembers with her, and everything meant for her finally finds its way back. Have you ever done all the inner work and still felt numb, like something essential inside you was asleep, disconnected, distant? You're not alone, and you're not broken. You don't awaken your feminine energy by thinking about it. You awaken it by living it, by remembering, by returning. This isn't about becoming someone new, it's about returning to someone ancient, the you that existed before you were taught to perform, before you were praised for holding it all together, before you believed you had to earn your place in this world. So today, I invite you into a quiet rebellion, not with noise, but with presence, not with perfection, but with practice. And here's where we begin. Wind phase 1. Move, just to feel free, not to lose weight, not to be watched, but just to feel alive in your body again. Put on a song, close the door, let your hips speak, let your arms fly, let your soul move you. Because when your body remembers joy, your soul begins to trust it's safe to come back. Hand with fingers splayed too. Place your hand on your body, right now, yes, now, touch your heart, or your belly, and say, I'm here. I'm listening. You don't have to carry it alone anymore. That simple touch, it's sacred. It says, this body is home. Memo 3. Write to your soul, not a to-do list, not your daily events, a letter. Ask, what are you feeling? What do you need? What truth have I been avoiding? Your soul will answer, you just have to give it space to speak. Artist palette 4. Create something with your hands, paint, bake, draw, plant, fold laundry like it's a ritual. Not to achieve, not to impress, but to reconnect, to remember, creation is your nature, not performance. Cherry Blossom 5. Do something your inner girl would have loved, blow bubbles, sing loudly in the car, write a silly poem, dance barefoot in the kitchen, not because it's productive, but because it's alive. Your joy is not childish, it's medicine. Crescent Moon 6. Record your dreams every morning, before the noise. Write them down, no matter how strange, because your dreams, they carry symbols from your soul, truths you haven't spoken, wounds you haven't touched, desires you've forgotten how to name. They are not random, they are roadmaps, because feminine energy doesn't shout. She whispers, she stirs, she hums through your breath, through longing, through quiet knowing, and when you begin to live in rhythm with her, you don't need to chase anything, because what's meant for you already knows how to find you. So let me ask you now, are you ready to come home, not to a place, but to yourself, to the version of you that doesn't hustle for love, because she already is love, to the woman who doesn't prove herself, because she finally knows her worth? Speech balloon. If something inside you stirred while listening, if something old began to rise again, write it in the comments. She's coming back. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay close. Because the next chapter might be the one that brings you home for good. Just because you stop chasing doesn't mean you stop moving. Just because you're done proving doesn't mean you stop growing. Feminine energy is not passive. It's not about sitting still, lighting candles, and waiting for the universe to reward your self-love. Let's clear this up once and for all. There's a myth floating around spiritual circles. It whispers to tired hearts, if I just love myself, everything will come to me. If I lean into my feminine The universe will do the rest. It sounds beautiful, but it's incomplete, because the universe doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It doesn't move based on your dreams, it moves based on your frequency, and frequency isn't what you say, it's how you live, it's what you embody. When no one's watching, it's the way your nervous system feels when you're alone. So no, feminine energy isn't about sitting in stillness forever. It's not passivity wrapped in pretty words. True feminine energy is alive. It receives, yes, but it also creates. It flows, it expands, it takes up space, softly, unapologetically. It doesn't beg. It doesn't hustle, but it does rise. It doesn't wait to be chosen, it becomes. The one who chooses to stop chasing doesn't mean you stop moving, it means you stop moving from fear. Stop grasping from lack, stop acting from urgency or the ache of being not enough. And start moving from truth, from wholeness, from a place so rooted in self-worth, that everything you build comes from love, not from lack. Think about it. If you say you want deep, safe, soulful love, but your energy still lives in fear, in people-pleasing, in do they like me? Then you're out of alignment with the love you're calling in, because love, true love, doesn't answer to words, it answers to energy, it answers to presence, it answers to embodiment. The love you crave isn't avoiding you, it just doesn't recognize you yet, not until you become a match for it. So no, this path is not about just love yourself and wait. It's about showing up, it's about co-creating, it's about learning how to sit with discomfort, without running for distraction, it's about showing up for yourself, when no one's clapping, it's about becoming emotionally, energetically, spiritually capable, of holding what you say you want. It's deciding, day after day, to live like the woman who already knows her worth, not to prove it, but because her soul refuses to live small anymore. If you want sacred love, start living with sacred boundaries. Speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. Stop trying to be liked, start being real. If you want a deeper life, start living with depth, with presence, with softness and fire, in harmony. And if you're wondering why it hasn't come yet, ask yourself gently, am I really living in the energy of what I say I'm ready to receive? This isn't about blame, it's about alignment. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. No more waiting, no more shrinking, no more wishing on energy you're not willing to hold. Rise, move, shape your frequency until it sings louder than your fear, because the feminine doesn't chase, but she does choose. She doesn't strive, but she does expand. She doesn't wait, she becomes. And when you stop chasing and start becoming, you don't have to beg for what's yours. You just receive it, because it sees you, it knows you, and it returns home. Feminine energy isn't something you wear, it's not a dress, not a tone of voice, not a perfectly curated goddess pose for Instagram. It's not something you perform, it's something you return to, the moment you stop trying to impress the world, and start living with truth in every breath, in a world that sells us beauty in bottles, and softness in filters. It's easy to mistake the feminine for a look, a sway in the hips, a lowered voice, a perfect aura of divine femininity. But the truth, feminine energy is not a costume, it's not a vibe you turn on when someone's watching. It's not a style, it's a state, a way of being, a frequency you embody, even when no one is around to applaud you. It's not about how you look, it's how you breathe, how you sit with yourself in silence, how you say no when your body tightens, and yes when your soul relaxes. It's not always soft, sometimes it roars, sometimes it grieves, sometimes it stands still, unmoving, unwavering, while the world spins in chaos. You don't learn feminine energy like a skill, you remember it, as you peel away everything you were told you had to be, all the masks, all the strategies, all the ways you twisted yourself, just to be accepted. You stop performing. You start feeling, you stop chasing, you start listening, and in that moment, something shifts. How do you know when you've drifted away from your feminine essence? When stillness feels unsafe, when silence feels like rejection, when you can't relax unless someone texts you back, when you say yes while your body screams no. When you trade your peace, just to not be left. That's not flow, that's survival, wrapped in lipstick and ambition. That's not presence, that's performance. And beneath it all, there's a woman, tired, exhausted, longing to be held, not by someone else, but by her own truth. Can you think of a time you stayed in a relationship, a job, a role, not because it fed your soul, but because you were afraid to lose love? If you chose yourself, that's not wholeness, that's fear with a pretty face. True feminine energy doesn't earn love, it doesn't seek attention, it doesn't shape-shift to be palatable, it simply is. It's the calm in the chaos, the full-bodied no, the whispered yes, the quiet power that doesn't shout to be seen, but is always felt. She doesn't bend to be chosen, she doesn't perform to be kept. She knows that when she is rooted in truth, what is real will always stay. This isn't about being soft-spoken. You can be wild and still be feminine. You can be fierce and feminine. You can be messy, sensitive, bold, and raw, and still fully anchored in your feminine truth. What matters is not how you appear, but where you're living from. Are you moving from fullness, or from fear? Are you connected to your body's wisdom, or trapped in loops of performance? Because when you live from fear, you become a master at adapting, but a stranger to yourself. You become loved, but not seen, celebrated, but not felt, impressive, but empty. And that is not feminine energy, that's exhaustion wearing mascara. So if you're tired, not just in your bones, but in your soul, then maybe it's time to take the mask off, time to exhale, time to stop performing, and come back home to presence. You don't have to be feminine enough. You don't have to look the part, you don't have to follow a script. You only need to live truthfully, softly, unapologetically, with your whole heart, because feminine energy isn't a pose, it's a presence that heals, a presence that roots, a presence that doesn't chase, because it remembers. She already is what she was looking for, and when you live from that place, you don't attract love, you become it. Message doesn't ask to be loved, she becomes love. She doesn't ask, what do I need to do to be loved? She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase, she doesn't wait for the world to choose her. She becomes it. She becomes the very love she once thought she had to earn, because real love doesn't come from being chosen. It rises when you no longer need to be. There is a moment in a woman's life, quiet but unshakable, when she stops performing for love. She no longer asks, how can I be more beautiful, more agreeable, more of what someone else might want? She no longer twists herself into shapes that don't feel like home. Instead, she softens, she roots, she becomes still, not because she's stopped moving, but because she's done trying to outrun herself, and somehow, in that stillness, she becomes magnetic. You see, love doesn't respond to effort, it responds to essence, the essence of a woman who is at peace in her own skin, a woman who has walked through her shadows without shame. A woman who no longer fears silence, but wears it like a crown. She doesn't ask, will they stay? She asks, does this honor who I've become? She doesn't try to impress, she simply is, and the world adjusts around her, because her energy no longer whispers, "Please see me." It radiates, "I already see myself." Pause, let that land. When was the last time you felt like your worth depended on being chosen? Maybe it was a partner, maybe a parent, maybe in a moment alone, staring at your reflection, wondering if being wanted was the same as being worthy. That moment is where most of us begin, but it doesn't have to be where you stay, because there is another way. A quieter way, a way where love isn't something you earn, but something you return to. You stop asking, "Am I lovable yet?" And you start declaring, "I am love in motion." You stop seeking validation in someone's gaze, and start becoming the one who sees you fully. This is not arrogance, this is arrival. Carl Jung called it individuation, not the pursuit of perfection, but the sacred unraveling of who you were told to be, so you can remember who you've always been. She is not magnetic because she's flawless, she's magnetic because she's whole, because she's honest, because she's home to herself. She is the sum of every heartbreak that didn't break her, every desire she allowed herself to feel, every truth she stopped apologizing for. Her softness, it's not a secret, it's her superpower. When a woman no longer needs to be chosen, she no longer performs, she no longer shrinks in conversations, she no longer silences herself to keep the peace. She speaks, she breathes, she walks in her rhythm, and suddenly, the world listens differently. Picture her. A woman sitting in a garden, no makeup, no performance, just breath, just presence. She's not waiting, she's not signaling, she's just blooming, and somehow, without effort, bees find her, light finds her, life finds her, not because she chased it, but because she became it. You can be her, you already are. The moment you stop believing your value depends on anyone else's recognition, you enter the most important relationship of your life, the one with yourself. And when you fall in love with your own essence, you stop craving love, you start radiating it. You no longer ask to be seen, you are seen, because your presence is undeniable. And when you live from that truth, you don't attract love, you become it. You don't wait to be chosen, you choose yourself, and everything meant for you, the love, the peace, the purpose, won't pass you by, not because you earned it, but because you finally remembered. You already were it. You don't need to become anyone else, you don't need to attract anyone, you don't need to perform. Just to be chosen, because when you live fully, in every cell, every feeling, every silence, what's meant for you finds you naturally, effortlessly, without force, without fear, no chasing, no proving, just presence. The sacred feminine doesn't beg to be seen, she doesn't explain herself, she doesn't wait to be understood, she simply breathes. And in that breath, there is power, there is peace, there is everything the world forgot to honor. You see, this isn't about becoming anything, it's about remembering who you were. Before you learned to edit yourself, before you were told your softness was weakness, before you believed you had to earn your place in someone's heart, that girl, that woman, the one who danced without asking if she looked silly, the one who cried without shame, the one who loved with her whole chest. Not because she was desperate, but because she didn't know how to hold back. She is still here, waiting, not for you to fix her, but for you to finally come home. Coming home is not a retreat, it's not running away from the world, it's not hiding behind affirmations or rituals, it's a quiet rebellion, the kind that begins with one breath, one pause, one sacred no more. No more shrinking, no more performing, no more abandoning your truth just to feel safe. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not a role, not a version someone else prefers, but the you who can sit with her shadows and still smile, the you who can walk into silence and not panic, the you who doesn't need to be chosen to know she is already love. Picture her. She's not chasing, she's not proving, she's not trying to be anything but herself. She walks into a room, not loud, not polished, not planned, but present, and somehow, people turn to look, not because she demands it, but because her energy whispers, I am enough. I remember who I am. That's magnetic, that's feminine power, and if you're still listening now, if something inside your chest feels soft, tender, a little cracked open, this isn't just a video, this is a message, a mirror, a call home, from you to you. So here's the invitation, stop asking, what do I need to change to be loved? Start asking, what part of me have I been hiding just to be accepted? Because the moment you let her out, the real you don't just attract love, you become it. You become the kind of woman who doesn't chase life, because she knows life will always return to where truth lives. Dizzy, and if this message found you at the perfect time, it's not an accident. If a part of your heart whispered, I remember, then don't let this be the end, let it be the beginning. Sparkles, hit subscribe. Sparkles, turn on the bell so the next message finds you. Sparkles, and comment below, I'm ready to come home. Because maybe your return will awaken another woman, too, someone watching quietly, waiting for a mirror, waiting for you. You were never too much, you were never not enough, you were always just waiting to remember. Welcome home.